for his confidence.
Some of the achievements include the scorecard, the MCC scorecard.
Oh yeah, MCC scorecard, Transparency International, Afro Barometer, anyone you look at is better every year, and we can only say thank you.
What approach are you going to employ to ensure you gain higher grounds than what you've already achieved?
So I met with my team before my appointment, and I told them that should I remain commissioner in the coming tenure, we are going to do things a bit differently. So firstly, we are now arranging to have a management retreat where we are going to sit and plan the next year. We are going to do everything slightly differently with the aim of what? Greater efficiency, value for money, and delivery. So we are going to focus, for example, more on prevention, because where we have taken the fight against corruption, almost everybody is aware of corruption now. So we are not going to spend too much money again on public education. We are going to spend more money on two things: enforcement and prevention. But more so prevention, because prevention stops the country from going back to where it was, because you backstop where we are. That is going to be the key strategy, because as you know, they say prevention is better than cure. An ounce of prevention is better than tons of remedy. The country has to invest in prevention, and I am going to make sure I work with the government for us to do that.
You've used the Auditors General report over the years to actually fight corruption, and we've been seeing the lack of commitment from Parliament, the Fifth Parliament, to debate this report or work on them at some point. How are you ensuring that in this your prevention strategy, that the Auditors General report is all included, Parliament is all included in this fight?
So one of the reasons why we have achieved a lot of success in the last 5 years was really the robust way the Anti-Corruption Commission, working with other partners like Parliament, approached Auditor General's report. As you remember, we went in, we investigated some of them, we've recovered billions of leones from the corrupt, other than before where we used to say it was merely an opinion. So I actually used an approach that is not confrontational, but engaging. If Parliament says, for example, they don't want the ACC to deal with Auditor General's report, I engage them to understand that we are merely doing an extension of their work and making it easier for them. So we are going to continue doing that, because year in, year out, this Auditor General's report gives a bad image of public sector management. And I have emphasized in my last press release, when the last Auditor General's report came out, I said, this is not a problem of stealing money. It's a problem of failure of leadership of people who are leading these institutions. You have a finance director not providing documents to auditors. They are not retiring expenditures and all these things. It is you, the head, who are responsible, because you're not holding them accountable. So basically, we are going to also work within the prevention framework to make sure that these things are backstopped, that they happen, and that will help the country's image better. So definitely, the Auditor General's report is like our torchlight in the fight against corruption, and we'll continue doing that.
How are you going to work in the area of declaration of assets?
Oh yeah, as you know, we had reformed. One of the things we did in the last 5 years was to reform the asset declaration regime, the legal and regulatory framework, which was done. We reduced the scope of those who can declare, so we don't have people who really are not worth declaring. And we have also tried to make sure that there is greater cooperation, and we introduce sanctions, administrative sanctions for non-compliance. So we can seize your salary. We can write to the Accountant General to seize your salary if you don't declare your assets. And there are other consequences, including removal from office, which the law has empowered us to direct to happen. And we have been trying to work with them to make sure. For now, we did not apply particularly the removal of office, because we are trying for people to understand the law, to appreciate. So this year, we are going to first of all move to 100% online declaration of assets for all public officers, because the internet connectivity and other accessibilities are now more available in Sierra Leone, and we'll do points where people who don't have access to go and declare in various centers where administration happens. So we are going to have a 100% online declaration starting next year, and of course we are going to make sure as well that we hold public officers accountable on their asset declaration by checking their lifestyles and, of course, by checking how their wealth management happens while they are in public office.
Now, when you said the season of salary, withholding salaries,
Yes.
did you implement that in your...
That's what I said. We did not apply that. We did more of reminders to public officers to say, look, if you do not declare your assets, your salaries is going to be seized. And most times they acted. So we have a higher declaration rate. When I was appointed commissioner, public asset declaration rate was about 35%. Now we have close to 90% of declaration. So it means we are now at a stage where we can comfortably say everybody knows what to do. And of course, we are going to introduce an online declaration system. And after that, if anybody does not declare, then of course the sanctions will now come in. But the good thing is the law is now there, which was not existing before I became commissioner back in 2018. Now we have a good law that really helps us do things administratively without wasting time.
Prosecution is part of your strategy, as you rightly said.
Oh, yes.
What is your scorecard? How will you rate yourself in the past years in terms of prosecution, some of the cases you took to court?
No, we have an amazing prosecution rate. When we started, particularly the first 3 years, the judiciary was very amazing in terms of output with our cases, moving with them faster. Of course, you know that we set up the anti-corruption court to make sure that our cases are exclusively dealt with. And of course, we have higher returns so that cases can be decided faster, and it has dedicated judges sitting in. But coming down to elections, at the end of my tenure, the judges had relaxed. We have so many outstanding judgments with them. We have many cases which have been slow. I cannot see much difference between our cases and other cases which these judges have. So we are going to re-engage the Chief Justice again to say, look, judges who are not being productive with our cases should be replaced. Let other judges come in who are ready to do the work. And of course, we hold them accountable, because I don't see why a judge should have a judgment for over 3 months and they cannot declare it. So, but like I said, it's strategic engagement. We are going to engage the judiciary to understand what is happening here. Why are you delaying with our cases? This tenure is going to be about delivery and productivity and fast productivity. And that includes identifying those things which are preventing us from reaching our key aims and objectives, including the judiciary, and taking action that can be good for them by strategically engaging them and trying to fix things. But when it comes to my record of prosecution, of course, we all know that during that tenure, the last 5 years was the highest returns rate when it comes to prosecution. There are years where we had 90% conviction. There are years when we had even 100% conviction. And then there are years when the conviction rate dropped a little bit more. Like I said, coming down towards election, judges started backpedaling on their efforts to produce faster for us. And we are going to take steps to make sure that that changes beginning this tenure.
One of the major cases you have is the Chancery case.
The New York Chancery case, yes.
What strategy are you employing as you will be engaging the judiciary to ensure they sit on this? Let's first of all look at the effectiveness of that particular case in terms of the judges.
No. But I mean, the judge who is dealing with the anti-corruption case is one of our most effective judges. Justice Adrian Fisher is a man on a mission who knows what he's doing. And generally, we are very pleased at his tenacity, at his case management, his court management. When you go in Justice Fisher's court, you know that he's in control. And of course, he is not there petty adjournments. We have judges who give certain people vacation leave for 2-3 months before their cases come up. Some of them have kept our cases on no case submission for 2 years. But Justice Fisher, has been a really, really exemplary judge, and I am going to specifically move for the Chief Justice to make sure that most of our cases go to him. If possible, let him be handling exclusively anti-corruption cases.
Let's talk about public education. You said you will not be spending much time or much on public education. One of your submissions, you said that leadership, you've been emphasizing this. I remember there was a press conference where you said leadership in most institutions is the problem with corruption. That is why corruption has not been handled at all. Don't you think public education is needed in these areas?
No, I did not say we are not going to do public education. I am just saying that in the last 5-10 years, we have some of the highest public education engagement. Okay, including what you're saying. That press conference was a public education outfit engagement. And we are saying that leaders who are heads of this public, I mean, like I am head of the Anti-Corruption Commission, how can't my finance director provide documents to an auditor who comes to my office to audit? That finance director will not remain in that office. How can't my director of HR provide necessary documents for travel to an auditor? It means that finance director has decided that he does not want to be part of this community. It's about leaders holding these people accountable, setting examples. But they themselves being example. When I travel, I come back, I make sure that I retire what has to be retired. And I hold my staff accountable. I am saying if we have that kind of discipline across the board in Sierra Leone, trust me, some of these things in this Auditor General's report will not be seeing them. But leaders are just not doing what they have to do. And our role, working with them, is to remind them of their responsibility. If you are vote controller, it means you have key responsibilities that you have to do by making sure your staff do what have to be done. And those who cannot do it, don't wait for the Auditor Generals to come and disgrace you by putting the Auditor General's report as if you have stolen 100 million, when in fact you did not steal 100 million. The documents were just lying in some cupboard somewhere and they were not made available to an auditor. The staff who did that, kick him out of the office. Sack him. That is how it should be done. If we have that kind of mentality with public work, it's not about friendship, it's not about family, it's not about the relationships we have, it's about delivery. Of course, you will see how things will change with Auditor General's report. And that's what we are going to encourage them to do.
When have you ever felt that your efforts is being derailed or undermined in the fight against corruption since you were appointed?
As you know, the fight against corruption is a complex thing, my brother. And of course, I can't always expect that things will go smoothly. Nothing goes as planned. Sometimes there can be challenges and difficulties. It's a question of how we surmount them. So I don't really sit down here thinking about when things don't go bad. I am a problem-solving thinker. Here is a problem, what do I do? I'm a solution person. I don't belabor the problems. I focus on the solutions. And of course, if the problem is that something is on my way, the next thing I think is not really about that thing being on my way, but how do I get there? I could just bypass it, or I should just take it and put it somewhere else and continue my journey. So that's how I think.
For making sure, say, people in payback, waiting and get for payback in terms of the new ACC law, we give them more power and more latitude for able to recover government money them and for intervene, it as the case may be. And so, I mean, congratulations to Francis Ben Kaifala. I mean, it shows, say, for all the work we done work for 5 years, His Excellency the President get trust and reimpose that confidence. They repose that confidence they in them again for continue for serve as SC boss. And I think say that's the right thing for Salone. Now the right approach down there in our efforts, right, and the fight on the fight against corruption, where the president very serious about. And I should say Francis Ben Kaifala not go stop at anything for continue for take that work they go before and make sure say we continue for deals how we day, you know, because we don't see time after time, year on year, with the MCC scorecard and the rate in the fight against corruption. That is largely because of the president in overall attitude towards corruption, right? Now down there, you see them manifesting itself through them various institutions there. And Francis Ben Kaifala himself, they take them to another level for make sure say we do actual, you know, recoveries in real time, but then also help for push the fight against corruption go before.
The other issue very important is about how we build peace and national cohesion. The president, all in statements, is since he elected as president of the Republic of Sierra Leone, and in first interview where we man Salvo Channel Kamara interview, I talk about peace and national cohesion and also inclusive governance and willing for extend the olive branch, you know, more especially to the All People's Congress Party, the APC, including Dr. Samuel Kamara. But how we will see that be implemented, you know, in terms of us building peace, national cohesion, moving forward towards the 5 years of the president?
So let's just re-echo very quickly, if you can permit me, as to within the president saying in acceptance speech, yeah? So number 16, he says, I therefore extend the hand of fellowship to my brother and foremost opposition leader, Dr. Samuel Kamara, of the All People's Congress, APC, to join us in the arduous task of nation building. The job ahead is enormous, but collectively we can build the country of our dreams, the Sierra Leone our current and future generations deserve. If you go to 19 of the president's acceptance speech, which he said, He said, I want to continue to admonish all Sierra Leoneans to be peaceful and law-abiding. In particular, I ask my supporters to be exemplary. I ask my supporters to be exemplary in being peaceful and magnanimous in victory. He said, we ran a peaceful, principled, and progressive campaign. Therefore, we must remain peaceful, law-abiding, and embrace our brothers and sisters on opposite sides to join our efforts to build Mama Salon. You know, it clearly shows the mindset of the president that elections don't come. The campaign was spirited. You know, I mean, when I live in real time. As with the crisscross every radio station, similarly, His Excellency the President made the crisscross every part of this country. They take a message and campaign and talk to people. And, you know, but that is what you expect in a campaign. It's just like if you go take exams now, or you begin to go take MPSC, Beke or Aske. You get for good, full of energy and with spirit. Once you take the exams and they don't done now, it's about time for move on and for look forward to new things and look for fresh challenges. That in the case of governments, and in this case, His Excellency the President, with all the campaign we don't go through, not time now for down tools, you know, forget the campaign don't done. ECSL don't announce results as to who a president. They're still deep and put together, the other one then for parliamentary, local councils and all of them. But, you know, the most important one don't come on at all. Let us begin to think about the development of Salon. And I make you see, say the president, they try for rally everybody. And in first term, we see what they do. So I've been saying in another interview this morning on Epic Radio, I said we'll get several indicators for know within the president going to think at this material point in time. As to within the composition of the one they get for ask for serve at whatever point which he get for look like. So the person they ask the question, they say, well, what do you mean by that? I said, go back to 2018. Peter Bayoku Conte. We know Senabi APC.
Yeah.
Served and is by coma. Left APC. Transition to NGC. And then eventually support President Bio in the runoff. And he ended up being a cabinet minister. Also, he don't serve for 5 years, uninterrupted. That's the heart of His Excellency the President, President Julius Maada Bio. Once election done, he not care again as to who that being contest against, who that not contest, who that say with, who that not say with him. He thinks about development. He thinks about bringing people together. I give another example. In Honorable Alpha Khan. You get plenty of people inside SLPP who get the competence for do that work with President Alpha Khan. But President had several thinking as to why Alpha Khan. He belongs to another political party. It's about national peace and cohesion. So the question we ask, it's about how to make people and begin to see yourself as one. In addition to which, quite clearly, Alpha Khan get the CV, the requirement. My boss Mohamed Rahman so I can talk about the timber and caliber for do that job there. And so he came. During the elections, we see the Progressive Alliance with Dr. Kande Koleyum Kela and the NGC. But then also make an appeal to everybody, regardless of your political party, as long as you're progressive-minded, come, let us work together. So we know that based on their statements in there, we clearly know which thing get for unfold in 5 years. We know, say, His Excellency the President tirelessly, right, could put plans and modalities in place for make sure that everybody feel right, a sense of belonging, that it's about Sierra Leone, it's about this nation state, right, the only place we'll get for call home. Make sure so whosoever they serve not necessarily get for belong to one political party, as long as they get the ability and the requirement and the tenacity and the drive and the ambition and believe in His Excellency the President, in desire, right, and vision for this country, you have a part to play. We don't see her in 5 years, right? In order to ever buck that trend. I describe President Bio as somebody who gets a very big heart and broad shoulders. And that is what you need in anybody when you occupy the office of the President of the Republic of Sierra Leone. Because only then you get able to galvanize and bring people together, right, and take the nation and go forward.
You know, we don't see the President, the President, retired Brigadier Julius Maada Bio and Dr. Samuel Kamara, sign, a peace pledge, and that was 2 weeks towards the election. And, I remember in 2018 after the election, we see the two gentlemen, them, attend, one service, and we see that kind of chemistry after the service, that kind of rapport, they laugh, make fun, and they left. And, we hope for see that within this period, as we speak, and we also see Dr. Samuel Kamara tweet, say, probably not going to accept the results, with all of that. But how we expect the president at this time, for extend that to in fairness, as he always say, Dr. Samuel Kamara.
He already don't extend that in acceptance speech. I just don't read and just know. We call on, call on foremost opposition leader, Dr. Samuel Kamara, right, for let it come together, let them embrace and let them move forward. Whether we'll go for sitting at church together at one point in time or the other, definitely. And I go tell you it, mate, because they also are thinking Catholics. Eh?
Yeah, sure. And attend the same church.
And then they go to the same church. They must be at that church today. If not to that Catholic church, then they must be at some Catholic church. Because, they also believe, right, believe in Christians, they're Catholics, right? And they go, then they attend the same church. Look, I can always say this, and this now for people who watch this program now. Whatever you see, they happen during the campaign. Whichever you see with the talk and the spirited arguments and conversations they already get, right? Because we believe in the things they will hold and believe. We own persuasions there, so how to move the country forward, and we too think say right and we too think say wrong. That is where it stops. Outside that arena there, that political arena, we're friends and brothers. The other day I've been there, I think in the SLBC. I don't forget me and who that been go there. Me and you say APC person go there. Don't talk. Oh, come on, do what kind of the corridor now? They go hug yourself. They go.
But that's not the back scene where people know they see. But the one where they see, obviously they make people create that kind of tension.
So that's the reason why I don't mention this one now. Now for let people them ordinarily we're just a support and feel passionate, right, or excited about any political party. Now understand say we will probably occupy front row seats. We are not enemies from whatever political party. In fact, in most cases, we're related. They are family ties. You stretch and tell, I must know somebody who sabi you. You go know somebody, That is the Sierra Leone. And so let nobody not fool you and begin to tell you, say, go up, go do this, that. No. Because we are friends. We sit and talk casually, devoid of politics, and talk about family and, go back in time and remember then days the world will be much younger and, then kind of bad things. So, look, I think, say, that should be the spirit. What we do in private as politicians, the relationship we will get, right, the interaction, the camaraderie, right, long manifest and back in their platform they are already sit on the top.
That's very important. So I want to ask you how we not able to bring that kind of out, let people understand, say, you guys are friends and you are brothers, despite the political parties, but at least you guys are chatting, getting things going, and people will understand that.
No, well, me very organic. I can consider myself for me. I'm very organic. So I talk, and when I done dandy. Right? I not get this head here, a big go, as you see and so, right? But it's more for keeping there. We get a pass and keep everything alive as you move along. Tango Kai will let you hit fire by yourself. So, I mean, when it's done, it's done. I think so. Which probably we need for do more often. Now that where would they get in conversations they are? So if I sit down there, APC person in there, C4C person in there, let we get the kind of a conversation where they sort of help for calm nerves. So we can disagree, nothing wrong. Right? We may have different ideas, right? On principles and in practice or on issues, we get varied viewpoints them, and that's okay in life. Nobody, not swear, not for so, or for think alike in this country. And not happy, no other side. Anyway, not in a democracy. But let us have a conversation that is civil, that is decorous. We're not the degenerates to mamikos and infectives and all of them in there. It has to be polite. Once we're able, time and again, the Kenya, and get that kind of an atmosphere there, it go rub off, right? And everybody in this country that, we hold different political persuasions there, we belong to different political parties, but we're not sworn enemies them. It's about silence. And that is why His Excellency the President keeps telling us, election done. They don't announce results. The business of governance has started. You don't see enforced two assignment them. Swearing of the vice president. Reappointed for Ben Kaifala again as ACC commissioner. There are a lot of other things that the president has to do, right, in the days and weeks and months ahead, right? So let us move forward. Let's come together. Let we heal the divide. Let bridge the gap. Lord, forget about tribe. Lord, forget about region. Lord, forget about district. Lord, forget about religion. Now, once alone. That is what should be the focus now. And I know say all of the institutions that were responsible, David, National Peace and Cohesion Commission, whatever, Commission for Human Rights and Democracy and all of them, I know for a fact that they're working tirelessly now, right, for reach every nook and cranny of this society, right, for Triforce and Cable, for interact with people in our communities, both rural and urban areas, right, for able to bridge the gap, bridge the divide, and bring people back together. And His Excellency the President definitely supports their moves in there, right, and will also provide the leadership in making sure that we continue for
What I'm curious about, we see concerns of international communities, across, the globe. Is that also a concern for the government with regards to press releases from the EU, the Carter Center, and even local observers like you as well with regards to the election process as well?
It is good that you have brought this up. And we run the risk of which I will call opening up a Pandora's box. We respect, international bodies, them. By their own very admission, they say, now ECSL invites them for come and can observe. The last time I checked the dictionary interpretation of observe, it doesn't mean running to conclusions and asking for things. You observe.
Yeah.
Remy, if you're married, you call me, say, I go observe you married. And I will go there and begin to talk, say, well, why do you serious so? Do you for smiley and that? Not observation again, no. I might be onto something else. You understand? And I find it funny, particularly with New. I think New don't, if for anything, don't lost in reputation beyond these elections. If for anything, it don't show, say, then can't be trusted again for another elections, for monitor and observe. They can't be trusted. Because don't hear other civil society organizations from New. They openly say, well, we not subscribe to this YO.
But Newbie do the same in 2018 election.
But my point is this.
For runoff.
So all the more reason why new incredibility not necessarily erode now. Well, I'm not saying new not necessarily erode. Now Marcella they erode new incredibility now. It is just not either done to Marcella singularly. I listened to SLBC this morning. Alfonso Manley take Marcella to town in a part of New. He said that they inform you. He said all of them they talk so subscribe to and nobody no mix and day.
But I think we can't go past what Marcella. Let's speak on new issue.
No.
Yeah,
so
it's new.
For him, in this which Alfonso say, now that in field say New has been hijacked. But look now to which you could call the practical things that they do. You say when I get polling agents, right, or observers then are 700 and something. Also, polling stations there. Based on that, you also say you derive a methodology for arrive at a conclusion. Right? The only person will get right for make pronouncements, now ICSL, as provided for by the Constitution. We have 11,000, almost 12,000 polling stations there across the country. Now, I don't know if many people will know this, but I'll say this for the first time. One of my first jobs that I get after university, now being with the Ministry of Youth and Sports back then. For some brief period, we were involved in surveys and collecting data and doing analysis. The head of that coordination unit day, when I be the coordinator na Yugoslavia na Ibrahim Abdullah, Professor Ibrahim Abdullah, elected and called IB, right? But we all know saying a professor. And if I do survey, you have to have the right sample size. There has to be the right methodology. If you're able, and those are things that should be public knowledge. But for 11,000 or 12,000 polling stations there, you get 760, right? Where you say now there you go around. You have not even started Number one. Number two, now observe, you go observe no more.
But the question of the election, not only new, we get Carter Center from US, we get even the British High Commission, US, German.
You want to ask yourself the question. The observers there will come now this country. Now they almost total figure. Right? Forget a healthy idea as to what really happened. You should at least be able to cover 6,000 plus polling stations there across the country. That is more than half. That is more than enough sample size for going to conclusions. So you go see where IGR, Institute for Governance Reform, so then they do the survey. Then they show you the methodology, not so? But that is what you do. You disclose your methodology, what's the sample size. So where Citizens Manifesto come out with IGR pool, then tell you, say, then do 700 respondents, 1,400 respondents, 600 stakeholders, 40 civil society organizations. Not so? It was a subtotal, then give breakdown. Here's my point. All of the observers the whole day, whether be it from Qatar, whether be it from EU. So EU now, they talk about projections. The same thing what EU say. Now the same thing new also, they say, also, new self then talk about projection. Also, Remy, I don't know how many elections you don't cover, but from 2007 to 2012 to 2018, nobody no projects nothing. Same system, same method, tried and tried. So which I think say them if I don't do force, like we then come. Now like which on our best practice, international observers. How on don't they conduct elections? What are your best practice? How this thing be done they happy? Because if you go to the telecenter in Wellington, all of which in the day, nothing not there when you were there, not so. In terms of you don't go there, not so. You don't go to the telecenter, not so. That glass where they show side observer people already observe from political party all at the end of the day and which and they do and all of them in the not so. Then get first clerk, second clerk, third clerk, the third one and they check the first two and all of them in the
we team also the way give rundown, how the process.
Precisely the point. And then when you they say, well, then Phil say this election. So this election could have been anything, but they're not sure. But Salon people then go to America. Civil society organization then we left here. We'll go observe elections in 2020. Donald Trump against Joe Biden. You hear them put statements, even though Trump can then go court. You hear any Salomon put statement on behalf of civil society organization we'll go observe election in America? You hear anybody put statement? You know why? Because they understand their limit. They don't say we can't observe. To this day, Trump say he win that election day. He has tested every single court, right? And don't cost every single court in the process. He still say win election.
Right, so
my point is this. I feel slightly disrespected. I feel somebody is talking down on me as a Sierra Leonean. Forget about what I do for government. I feel somebody is trying to tell me what I should be doing instead of respecting me. Understanding that, I cannot meet every single one of their expectations if I don't think it is reasonable, right? That disregard, see EU and the other one them seem for the manifest, it leaves me troubled and worried.
But generally, with all of that, how for maintain the peace and national cohesion moving forward, and it's about, today, since ECSL announced the election result and re-elect President Bill of 56.17%.
So the actual number of votes they're in excess of it in 300 or 400,000,
Yeah, it's about 400 and something thousand, yeah.
That's the actual number of votes. So let people know the extent, right, in terms of the gap. Not to judge by 10, 15, 20,000, right? We talk about 400 and something thousand. And that includes Kono. For the one that would doubt results. That includes Kono. That includes Falaba. That includes Koinadugu. That includes Western rural, not so?
Yeah.
Places them within the Americans will call swing states. Kono one. It is one indicator that if you are to win Kono, you're more than likely going to win any elections in this country. Go check the history, right, of this with democracy and political parties contesting elections. More than likely, anybody will win Kono. Likely for end up to state as number one. Number two, before 2018, every other person who don't turn president don't end up for win Western area.
Yeah.
President Bio is the first president who plots a route to State House that did not include winning Western area, but also not losing it excessively. Now, the first person in the democratic dispensation since democracy was introduced in 1996 who plotted a way to State House without overwhelmingly winning Western area. But you get for win corner. We call them swing states. Look at the figures that we don't come on, though. For the one that we think say there was anything suspicious that anybody did. It's quite clear we had a message. We were consistent. Everything just fall into place, right? From Prince Hardin, when I lead the campaign as chairman of the party, to Mohamed Rahman Touare, when I lead the communications pillar, to Jacob Jusu Safar, when I lead the manifesto, everything just fall into place beautifully. You can't say the same for APC in terms of the woes and the troubles. As they announced the results, Alfred Peter Conte, the former interim leader, now one of the first people who tweet and congratulate President Bill. That tells you a lot about how disorganized they were leading up to the elections. So if anybody did doubt, I mean, I don't know.
Right. So I know, like you mentioned initially, the olive branch with the president will extend to other opposition party, and they talk about the Interreligious Council, civil society organization, Sierra Unions, as we come together at this time, for move the country forward within 5-pillar agenda we put in place for see how best it can change the country's economy, more especially food security, strengthen the agricultural system, look into the economy, human capital, job creation as well. So how we expect that for be materialized and then, moving the country forward within the next 5 years?
His Excellency the President mean every single thing with the 9 manifesto. Now that make the manifesto says, which is say for consolidate gains, while it's the accelerate development. Right? You can't accelerate development if you're able for consolidate the gains that we'd already make. Yeah. And so you can see His Excellency the President, right? They try for consolidate the gains on education, free quality education, right? Consolidate gains on healthcare. Maternal mortality, infant mortality, immunization, making sure that districts then get government hospitals or government units them, oxygen and all of them in there. But then also focusing on infrastructure and then breakgrounds now when it comes to agriculture. You ask how, then it will happen. One, by making sure the president going to say you get the right people them at the right place. Right, for move forward with them big ideas and big visions for this country. 2, constantly supervise and monitor, particularly when it comes to agriculture, as to what's in the happen. He also during the campaign, they don't talk say when it comes to agriculture, it's about making sure you get a multi-sectoral approach. Because yes, you want to talk about agriculture, and that directly relates to the Ministry of Agriculture. But there also could be a youth component. We get youth farms then right now. There has to be a youth component. Potentially, agriculture can provide employment to 65% of this country's population, right? So there has to be a youth component. So it's about having a multi-sectoral approach. That same day, right, with the president as lead, we go constantly look and see how to move things forward. We get machine rings then right now, as we speak, right? Now 15 places then. Public-private partnership will also be injected into what may happen in 5 years. If you look at we yield there now from 1.1 and 1.78, we talk about as of 2022, it's about 900,000 metric tons. So we have made progress. The basis then there, the fundamentals then there. Within the president get for add now different element, different layers to them. But then also making sure that we will commit 10% of our budget right, to agriculture. People them there outside the money they come out. People be outside 22% they come out. And how free quality education will be funded. We don't see it in 5 years. But look, let's tell you within some of them things that they do. You go to call international benchmarks. Yeah. So for example, on free quality education, the African aspiration should be 20% of any country in budget on education. We are one of the very few countries in this continent, we don't do 22%. So in fact, now we then decide now as example, if you go to the international conferences and forum, you're in top of free quality education and within the vision 2030 or 2035, right, for the continent, for education and access to education, all of that, they cite Sierra Leone as an example. But then they also the open doors, right? In terms of multilateral, bilateral, and other international organizations but one for get involved. That's the aspiration for agriculture. Yeah? Once you get to 10%, you don't meet some benchmarks internationally, and you're able to trigger a lot of attention and focus now, right, as to you drive an ambition for make sure that, look, ultimately, we all need to come on board for get agriculture rights. The president will provide that leadership. He will provide that oversight. He will make sure that the right people in there, the technical experts in there, for drive the process through. Once you get that right, we're not going to spend $160 million again for import gas can in this country. You know, so oil right now, not the import tanker again.
Yeah, because of the two.
We the producer, paddy oil, you go now all the way and call it this year. It is there in the shop. In fact, we export now to Senegal, to Gambia, and all of them in there. That is the aspiration for us. We're not going to spend $160 million again. Yabas, we will spend about $10 million annually for import Yabas can in this country. Where we go, we would stop importing. Within that, they go mean less demand for the dollar. It will stabilize with foreign with exchange rates, right? And then it will mean, say, more importantly, we can now able for feed we safe, right? And so if global shocks they happen, like where COVID be happening, Russia, Ukraine, which is still ongoing. If then global shocks then they happen, you're better able for deal with that. Interesting. During the height of the Russia-Ukraine crisis, when it just begin, I not be ever no say oil, sunflower oil. Now from Ukraine, them the export them going to the United Kingdom. When the war started, then challenge them they've been there initially. You go to stores in the United Kingdom, they're not been the griller bypass one. Sunflower oil. In some instances, they're not the griller bypass two. So if you go to shop there like Tesco's and Sainsbury's, they'll probably give you. Then say, okay, now 2 you're entitled to. Like you get money for buy 10, I used to be down there now. Then say, no, we have to ration it. Because the supply chain don't be disrupted, we don't have a lot of it. We're not sure store to get the next consignment to the car. You go now then shop there now like Lidl and anything and they then say, okay, now one with the give now. There are real challenges when it comes to global circumstances and implications. In the UK, in the United Kingdom, last week, the central bank therefore raised interest rates for deal with inflation. In the US, inflation at the highest it done in 40 years. In 40 years, highest. Even though job rates and all that, and they don't go up, there's still inflationary pressures as a result of the Russia-Ukraine crisis. Those are real. But you're better able for deal with them if you're able to provide your essential commodities. That is what President Bill wants to do for we. So that in the long term, this sort of nonsense we don't depend since independence, all day no more now they bring gas can country, all day now they pay about to get for counter. Maggie said they not counter or not get her. Nobody can produce her. It has to stop. We have to find a way, right, for become less dependent on foreign currency for import things than Canada, this country. You know, the president has a clear focus, has a clear ambition. Bring the country together, bring people together, devoid of politics, devoid of party, devoid of region, devoid of tribe, devoid of religion, and get progressive minds for calm and lot of focus on development in 5 years. He wants to leave us a rich legacy. Already now, we can begin to talk about the president's legacy. We can talk about healthcare, maternal mortality, infant mortality, and immunization. We can talk about free quality education, right? And 22% of this government budget, and the number of people that don't get access to education. So there's a lot of things. But His Excellency the President Apostle not satisfied so easily, right? I once described him as a president in a hurry. A president in a hurry, knowing the state of Salon. This president is in a hurry to do many things and get them right, for the future, right, and for the betterment of this country.
Okay, finally, I know you want for one and do other things, but what's now the message now in terms of peace way the government is looking into as we move towards, other development?
You know, I could just echo with President Bio, don't always they tell you, even during the campaign, Lord do all things safu. So even we self we feel say we win election, Lord do a safu. Need not there for begin the pass and go and celebrate now, you go and bugger that person, right? President don't admonish we in the acceptance he say, Lord do all things safu. You enjoy safu, you been go vote safu, you go to host back safu. You don't know host safu, you wait for ECSL safu. ECSL themselves announce safu, you enjoy safu. But try for bring people together. Elections don't done. The next elections now in 2028. Clear? This is not the first president who give you 1 year, 3 months date to election. In 2018, now Yagba. For let them go date for election. President say no. Yagba they may not want her. 1 year, 3 months now yeah. Let's get this date one time. Lord man go prepare and get himself together. Unfortunately, some did not. And then get cause for beginning to blame everything else but themselves. You know, say they're not prepared for the elections. But look, by and large, I think not next election, not 2028, we should focus now on development, on the future of this country, of on national peace, cohesion, and unity. How to bring people together, how to put people together, right? And let we look at the things that we germane to national development, where people concerned about, where people want for law do. Now, down the president, don't focus on. I'll go see, as I say, in the coming days and weeks and months, directly that sort of kind of attitude in terms of everything what President Bill could do. Now, for set the stage for in second 5 years and final term as President of the Republic of Sierra Leone, so that I go left with a rich legacy of so many things that would look back, including Freetown International Airport, would look back and say, we had a president, President Julius Maada Wonibio, served us from 2018 to 2028. But if you really want to write the history of this country, and I did not this are going on, if you really want to write the history of this country, nobody, not in this life right now where they live, would be so fortunate for letting a name span over a period of 3 decades. You can ask what I mean. You probably don't understand it. There was a President Bio before 1996. A President Bio transition to multi-party politics. There was a President Bio, right, and in footprints in the peace initiatives will ultimately lead to peace in this country. There is a President Bio now. No one individual has ever been this fortunate for span over a period of 3 years, where in your own personal life and in your involvement and transition from one period to the other, now which I can say inextricably intertwined, right, with the sands of time in the history of this country, right? And so whatever way you write the history of this country, there will be President Julius Maada Bio spanning over a period of 30 years, right? That is how long he has stayed relevant, right, in the dispensation, whether it be politically or otherwise, in this country.
Imran Sila, thank you very much for being part of the show. Well, Imran Sila, member from the Strategic Communication Team at the Ministry of Information and Communications. Now, so we end this edition of you special edition of Salon Decides and elections coverage as we move towards other issues. Till tomorrow for final edition for the elections coverage for the week. My name is David M. Wilson. Many thanks to the production team and technical team. Till then, bye for now.